since time immemorial, humans have tried to figure out what the meaning is of these lives that we find ourselves in. And all kinds of interpretations have been put on it. But it is the biggest question we can ever have. You know, what are we? What is this place? What are we doing here? What is the point of it all? It's a pretty big question to kick off with, but is there any straightforward way in which you can give your take on those questions?
You're here, first and foremost, for soul development. So when you incarnate, you come to Earth, you are coming to a classroom of much higher education. Earth is extremely challenging. And that's why many, many souls decide to incarnate here. Because by doing so, the array of experiences that are going to be had is going to contribute to the soul's learning. And that is what the soul is in the game for. The soul is in the game to develop and to move higher up the ladder of consciousness, of wisdom, ultimately to enlightenment.
Okay, so I have to jump in here. Earth is not a classroom. It's not a school. That comes directly from Dolores Cannon. And this is Mike Williams from Sage of Quay saying that on the video. He's with Mark Devlin, okay? The guy that was just speaking is Mike Williams, Sage of Quay. This is not a classroom. Trauma and mind control and evil prevent development, prevent consciousness from growing. They prevent growth. They prevent learning. They prevent enlightenment. This is a torture chamber. This is a place of trauma. This is a place of suffering. This is a place of disease. This is a place of evil. This is a place of wrongdoing. This is a place of injustice. This place is completely sick, completely unfair. Is there some beauty here? Yes. Is there some love here? Yes. Friendship? Yes. We bring in the love in this realm. This realm doesn't give us that or develop that. We bring that in with us. The love, the imagination, the beauty, the kindness, the compassion, we bring that in here. This sewer matrix does not give us that, nor does this place develop that. It's quite the opposite. This place degrades spirits. I'm going to repeat that just because it's important. I know I have some very intelligent people here, but this place degrades spirits. That's what it seems to be designed to do. If you look at the evidence and you observe how this realm is designed and what's actually happening here rather than wishful thinking. Wishful thinking would be, well, this is just a nice classroom. Well, guess what, Mike? You can drop out of school anytime. You can leave early. I'd left school in high school and went home, and I dropped out, okay? And my mom was a teacher, so obviously my parents wanted me to continue on in school. They knew that I was, let's put it this way, I'm not low IQ, all right? I'm not going to boast myself up here, but I didn't want to sit in a classroom and sit in a desk and get programmed and indoctrinated. That's what a school is in this realm. It's an indoctrination center. It's a mind control center. It's where they brainwash you from childhood. So to call this a classroom, I mean, anyway, you're wrong from the jump. Classroom. So children with leukemia are learning lessons. Children that are dying of parasites are learning lessons. Children that get bit by a mosquito, what does that exist for? What does all that disease and evil exist here for that causes massive suffering? What about rattlesnake bites? What about blind children? I mean, I can go on. Deaf children. It's a challenging place. That's the same thing Dolores Cannon said. She was told by the entities. Whether you call them aliens or entities or archons, doesn't matter what name you give them. It's the behavior that matters. They're all the same thing as far as I'm concerned. They're all from the same family, the Matrix family of deceivers. All right? You can call them demons. You can call them archons. You can call them entities. You can call them aliens. You can call them grays. I don't give a shit what you call them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And Mike is he's way off track. He's on the Dolores Cannon hype train. And I'll say this, he's done a lot of great work when it comes to Paul McCartney and the fake Paul McCartney and the fake Beatles and Tavistock Institute and a lot of that stuff, that research. is worth watching when it comes to Mike Williams, but when it comes to some of this stuff, I'm shaking my head, man, because it's way off. It's the exact opposite. Trauma prevents learning, prevents growth, prevents enlightenment.
As far as its development, and now is completely free. So, but that's the answer. The answer is you come here, you incarnate here to learn.
Yeah, that's the explanation that makes the most sense to me of all the ones that I've heard. I've looked at what various religions have to say and various mystery school teachings and such, and that is the explanation which resonates the most with me, and it answers a lot of questions. But with it,
there's that resonates word. Mark Devlin said it resonates with them. They're both on the same page. They agree and agree. And it's like, he said that makes the most sense to him. It makes no sense. It makes no sense for this to be a quote school. This is a rigged reality. And those guys have not had tough lives. I can tell. I can just tell. They're pretty much fairly easy lives, middle class. Okay, they haven't suffered tremendously. I would bet money that neither were heavily abused as children. Stuff like that. There's various things that, it's millions that go through that in this realm. Do you realize that? I just want everyone listening to realize it's not just one person saying, oh, I suffered this. It's millions and millions and millions. It's not an exception. It's a sizable amount. It's, as another YouTuber would say, it's noteworthy. It's noteworthy, and I'm not making fun this time, okay? Because I endured some stuff in childhood, and I know that there's people watching my videos that also have, and my heart goes out to you. And I mean that, and that's part of the reason why I make these videos, to push back against this false narrative that we just suffered this to learn here. Whether you suffered that way in childhood, or as a teenager, or as an adult, okay? You didn't deserve that. And it wasn't your mission here to go through that. You didn't deserve that. And it wasn't to learn lessons. And this place is a hell realm. It's a sick sewer matrix with sprinkled sugar on top to make it look pretty. There's some beauty. Okay, there's some beauty sprinkled on top, like natural beauty here. So what? That doesn't fool me. That's an illusion. That's just part of the mirage. That's all that is. It's just a smoke screen. And it just doesn't work. Some of us just see through it. It just doesn't work. You know, it just doesn't. So I don't know if these guys are, I'm not going to come out and say, hey, these guys are controlled opposition, because I don't know for sure. Am I ruling that out, though? No, I'm not. They could be. Both of them could be, because they seem to be agreeing so much throughout this video, and it's a long video, as you can see. Their original video is 1 hour and 28 minutes, almost an hour and 30 minutes. So, you know, when I see that kind of agreement, red flags go up. And I wonder why. Out of all the things that they could think, like, why would these two guys agree on this? Why would they see it the same way? Why does it sound like so many of them, it's not just these two, but so many on YouTube are reading from the same script? How much do they know each other behind the scenes? Are they working for someone? Are they part of a club? I don't know. Obviously, I'm just speculating. I'm not accusing. I'm not saying that I know that they are. This is not a school. It's obvious that it's not a classroom.
In that dynamic, we obviously undergo a memory wipe when we incarnate each time. So we can't remember what we did in previous lives. There seem to be methods of regaining that knowledge through past life regressions and such, but generally speaking, we get that memory wipe. And people might ask, what's the point of that if every time we reincarnate, we have to start again with a blank sheet of paper and try and figure it all out all over again without the benefit of the knowledge we've already built up from several past lives? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so the reason why you have amnesia when you come in is because if you didn't, you would operate like a robot. So with the unknowing, you're entering into the life with a blank sheet of paper, brand new. But when you come into the life, you do have a curriculum. Now, let me just explain this to the audience. I was in practice for 12 years. 50% of my practice was clinical work. And
I don't care. I want to jump in here and say this. A curriculum is basically saying you have authorities above you. Quote, teachers. I never liked teachers in school, because they can say, no, you got to wait till recess. And there you are as a little kid, you know, sitting in your chair, and you have to go pee really bad, and you're like, oh, that's all you can think of is hold it in. And someone else is controlling you to that degree. And I hated that. With good reason. With good reason. So they train you to obey authority. And that's what Mike is doing here. And coming in here with amnesia makes no sense. Because the only way you can learn is by retaining knowledge. If you can't retain what you've learned, then you haven't learned. You get what I'm saying? If I had learned how to tie my shoes one day and I memory wiped that night and I can't remember, I have to relearn it the next day. What was the point of learning it the day before? You have to learn it every day.
So every lifetime you have to learn to tie your shoes. You have to learn how to feed yourself with a knife and fork. You have to learn how to crawl, how to walk, how to talk, every lifetime. You can't learn from your mistakes because you can't remember what mistakes you made. You can't remember what you did wrong or who you hurt or what was wrong. It's all wiped away. So you have no learning from your experience, zero. So the experience becomes meaningless because it's all wiped away. You can't remember loved ones. You can't remember who you loved, who you harmed, what mistakes you made, what regrets you had. Nothing. It's all wiped away. You can't even remember where you're from or that you were here before. It's all wiped away. And somehow they try to justify this as it makes sense to them. It makes no sense. It makes it impossible to learn. If you can't carry the knowledge forward, it's like if you had to repeat 10th grade math in high school, and you're like, ah, fuck, I don't want to have to do that again. But at least your memory's not wiped. You get to do the grade 10 math course again, and you still have your knowledge, so it's easier the next time, right? You get what I'm saying? But in this realm, you have to relearn everything. You could repeat the exact same mistakes. You could burn your hand in the exact same way on a hot stove, let's say, one lifetime, and then again the next lifetime. And it's brutal. It's just like, it's a Twilight Zone episode. It's not a classroom. You get mind wiped over and over and over and over and over again. It's a nightmare. It's not a classroom. It's a fucking nightmare. By design. Everyone is eating life here. If you're on my if you're in this realm, and whether you're on my channel or not, you're eating life to survive. You have to. And then you're hardwired to have a survival instinct. So, I mean, it's set up this way. It's not that anyone that eats meat or eats this or that wants to cause suffering. It's designed this way. And there are people that cannot survive off of plants alone. They can't do it. They can't digest them. They can't get the necessary vitamins, not just protein, but B12, B vitamins. They can't get that. And they can't get iron. They can't get a lot of things. And they get deficient. Their teeth start falling out. Their wrists start hurting. Their bones start hurting. I know what I'm talking about. Life eats life here. I didn't design this realm. I wouldn't make it this way. I wish it wasn't this way. So for the ones that are on my back or whatever, I wish it wasn't like this. But I notice you're not against the evil that designed the realm. You're against people just trying to eat here. You're focused on what's on their plate rather than what made this realm. It made it this way. It's kind of warped. Like you're kind of attacking people that had no choice in the matter, if you see what I'm saying. You know, you're shifting the blame onto the victims. And that's what Stockholm Syndrome slaves often do. They don't blame the ones that are responsible for this realm. That's why some of us really think that, you know, this place has to be ended. It really does. It can't go on this way. I don't view Earth as a living being, as a living entity. I view this as part of a matrix. I view this as false, whether it's a simulation or something different or close to that. It's not what most people worship it as being. It really isn't. And I'll add this too. Nature is brutal. There are some beautiful places, but it is also brutal to people and to animals. They get eaten every day, all day long. So do plants. Everything alive here is being eaten, eating something else or being eaten. That's how the whole thing is designed. So it's psychopathic. The design itself is psychopathic. Trying to justify amnesia. A lot of us are aware that reincarnation is real. We're aware there's a quote process set up, but we know that it's malevolent because we've studied a lot of near-death experiences and pre-birth experiences. And we understand there's trickery, there's deceptions, there's lies, there's love bombing, there's mind control going on in the other realms, in the astral realm, let's say. So we understand this. I don't think he's looked into that, or he can't accept it, okay? He just can't face it. He wants it to be good. He wants the work that he's already done with the regressions, the hypnotherapy. He wants that to be good, okay? And he's trying to justify amnesia, which is trauma. If a person did that to another person in this realm, it would be a huge crime against them, okay? So why wouldn't it be if an entity does that to you or to millions of us? Just look at it that way. It's a crime against us, spiritually, and against our consciousness and our memories, wiping out our memory of who we are and who our loved ones are and everything, our experiences, everything. It's an enormous crime against us.
And they move you to the passenger seat or they move you to the back seat. That's what you have.
So he's preaching disempowerment. And basically, I'm for empowering yourself to choose freedom, to choose to get out of this cycle, okay? See that symbol? The infinity symbol, the loop, the figure 8 on its side. To break free from that and to choose freedom. Message is empowering. Later on, you're going to see what I mean and why I'm saying this. Because Mike Williams is pushing something that's disempowering. Handing over authority to someone else. Shaking my head. Never do that.
Before you incarnate, you have an understanding of what the lessons are in this life, what it is you're supposed to learn.
You agree to it.
How about the children born horribly deformed, completely disabled, unable to ever speak, basically wheelchair bound and unable to do anything? Not only wheelchair bound, but unable to speak, communicate, just like a vegetable, basically, extremely low IQ and almost no communication at all. What's their curriculum? What's their lesson here? I want people to think beyond themselves. I know that we've suffered, and I'm trying to get you to do this for a reason. And it's not just saying, oh, some have it worse. I'm just saying, if you look at them as an example, they're showing you what this place is, that these theories don't add up. All you have to do is look to them, and even when they can't vocally speak, they're still speaking the truth, saying this is a hell realm. It's not a classroom. Okay? As they suffer their whole life and they're unable to do anything. They have to be cared for completely in every conceivable way. They have zero independence. They learn nothing while they're here. Okay? And they suffer. That just blows Mike Williams and Mark Devlin's theory right out of the water. It just takes a torpedo and sinks their submarine. It shows, hey, that makes no sense because there's millions of children like that. So your theory doesn't add up at all. Because those children are just prisoners in their bodies their whole life, from birth until, cradle to grave, right? And that is heartbreaking. And that is this hell realm. That's what's happening. That a lot of people will not face. They won't speak about it. They won't mention them. And those children that can't speak and can't get up out of a wheelchair, they can't walk their whole life, are speaking very loudly. They're showing you what this place really is. And that they're not here to learn lessons, and neither am I, neither are you. This is not a goddamn classroom. Not at all. If there was a, quote, curriculum, it would be suffering, trauma, pain, disease, mind wipes, and recycling. Endlessly in that loop. And the goal should be to break free from that fucking loop. To break out of here. Also to help others. That's what I encourage all the time. Why do you think I want people to know about my channel? Because I want to help other people get out of here. This place makes me sick. I don't like seeing suffering. And I don't like seeing slavery. And I know that this place is wrong. I've known this place is wrong since I was a little boy. I knew there was something very wrong about this place. And I knew I wasn't from here. But I didn't know how I got here. And I didn't know how to say that. I had a dysfunctional family, okay? I couldn't just say that to my parents that, hey, I'm not from here. I couldn't say that as a child. Because I went through things no matter what I said. So, but I knew. And I know now. But I know more now than I knew back then. And I'm not claiming that I know it all. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. But I am trying to provoke you to think, to question things, to really look deeply, to observe this realm, to realize what it is, and to realize that we don't even fit here. We're not even designed to live here. It's all wrong. On every level. It's wrong. It's wrong here. We're not suited for nature. We're not meant to be ruled by evil. Our bodies are not suited for this realm, to survive out in the wild, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, in the wild to get food, without growing crops, without technology. We're not made to survive in this fucking place. Biologically, we're a mismatch. We're misfits. And it's beyond that. Our spirits don't belong here. That's why you don't feel at home here. I don't. I can't speak for everyone, but I know there must be hundreds. I'm sure. I'm fairly sure. We can't allow this to continue. What's happening here is immoral beyond immoral. It's gross, malevolent. It's sickening. It's heartbreaking. It's evil. It should not exist.
You have guides. And at certain point...
Sorry to jump in so quickly, but the whole soul guides thing again, that we agree to this, that you have guides, which is basically saying a higher authority, guides. Basically, he said we agree to this, so he's basically saying you fill out like a soul contract, that you fill out your curriculum or whatever. This is just bullshit. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Even if people that he regressed, I realize there's a potential that some of them said that. Maybe they did. Maybe the ones that he hypnotized and regressed, maybe they did. Does that mean we all did? No, I didn't. I would never agree to this. I never would have wanted this. I know there's some on my channel that feel the same way. Okay? I did not agree to this.
One lifetime, it'll then roll into a second lifetime or a third lifetime.
Makes no sense. How are you going to learn that when you've had your memory wiped? How are you going to master something? It's like taking a piano lesson. At the end of that day, you took 2 hours of piano lessons. You get memory wiped. You start over again the next day. And then you memory wiped, and then you start over again the third day. Over and over again. It's the same getting memory wiped, before each new incarnation or each new lifetime. If you can't retain knowledge, you can't learn. You can't master anything. I had to learn to tie my shoes again. I had to learn that again this lifetime. I had to learn to crawl, to walk, to talk, to feed myself. All that stuff, to brush your teeth, everything. All of it. All of it. How to read, how to write, all of it. Every little thing. How to button up a shirt. Dress myself. To relearn everything. So how are you going to master anything? You have to relearn, and it shows you in your own life that you had to relearn that stuff. You didn't come here knowing how to do everything. So you did get memory wiped, and you had to relearn every simple task. So how are you going to master important things like empathy, let's say? And some will say you have to come here 10,000 lifetimes to learn empathy. It makes no sense. It's just an excuse to get you coming back here over and over and over and over again. That's the way it's set up. They want to keep you here forever.
Or keep your hands on the steering wheel. So it is
How quickly the soul can recall. That's a bunch of bullshit right there. I'm going to jump forward a bit because I have a lot to cover, okay? A lot of this. And I don't want it to be 3 hours long. So pardon me.
We've chosen to do this.
With those 5 doors that...
I have to jump in here, sorry. Where's his evidence that we've chosen to do this? I'd like to see his evidence for that because I've never seen some real hard evidence that some proof. Hey, we chose to do this. And they say it so often, it's repeated so often on YouTube by all of them that there's very few on YouTube with a channel at least that I can think of that say that we didn't choose this. That don't say, hey, we chose this. Okay? I know some that don't say that are basically, I wouldn't say, well, I don't know if I'd say agreeing with me, but seeing it very closely to the way that I do, okay? That question that whole, quote, we chose this. But for the most part, most of them on YouTube on this topic are on the same page. They're almost like reading from the same script, which is very suspicious. Whether it's Forever Con Man Research Channel, or Overwatch Channel, or Mike Williams, or Old Humans Channel, or on and on. I mean, the quote, we chose this thing is repeated like they're parroting after each other.
These lessons have got to be mastered. You've got to be able to graduate.
Why? That's my question. Why do I have to learn these, quote, lessons? I don't believe in, quote, elders or spirit guides. And why would I have to learn these lessons that they claim I have to learn? Why? Why? I mean, I wish people would have questioned in elementary school the way I did and say, why? Why do we have to learn this? I'm not interested in this, so why? Why am I being forced to come to this place? I called school in elementary school, Catholic elementary school, as a child. I called it a prison for kids. That's what I said to a couple other kids one day at recess. That's what it seemed like to me.
And souls are not perfect, because if souls were perfect, they wouldn't incarnate to learn lessons.
It's circular logic. He's saying we wouldn't incarnate here or reincarnate here to learn lessons, but he's assuming that we're here to learn lessons. So he's assuming we're here to learn lessons, therefore we can't be perfect. I'm not claiming that we're perfect. I don't know. I'm basically saying I don't know. Do I think we are? Perhaps not. But does that mean we're here to learn lessons? No. That's connecting things like in a way that doesn't add up. He's saying 2 + 2 = 5. He's saying we must not be perfect because we're here to learn lessons. Well, Mike, you're assuming that we're here to learn lessons. A lot of us don't assume that. We see that we're not learning here. We're suffering here. We're being traumatized here. We're going through fear, worry, anxiety, depression, abuse, guilt, shame heaped on us, threats, insults, attacks, demonic attacks included, all sorts of shit. People go through hell here. Physical illnesses. There's people on my channel that are in chronic pain every day. Okay? Understand that? Understand how fucking brutal this place is? How much that hurts to think about? Knowing what someone is going through that does not deserve to be going through that? There's horrendous suffering in this realm. It's really bad. I'm sorry for getting emotional here. But to call this a school or a classroom and say that we're here to learn these lessons and curriculum, we signed up, we chose this, it's bullshit. There's a lot of us that would never have chosen this. We would never have chosen to come here. We would never have chosen what a lot of children and adults go through, but it's, for me, especially the children, because they're innocent and you can see that they have a long way ahead of years of suffering, and they're just young and they don't have a chance. That's what breaks my fucking heart, to see that. And I saw one last year at the hospital in the ER. When I was in the ER, this guy was, looked to be a teenager. He might have been 16 to 18, completely disabled, in an electric wheelchair, but had to be moved by his, I think it was electric, but it was like, kind of like a custom wheelchair, in a sense. And I think it might have been one that raised up, or the seat you can raise up to help them stand up, and completely disabled. He was sick, looked like he was sick maybe with the flu or something. In the ER, having trouble breathing, couldn't really communicate and speak. He was not only wheelchair bound, but special needs, we'll say. Okay? I don't know if he was highly autistic or what kind of special needs he was, but he was just nonverbal, basically, and his mom and dad were there, and it's heartbreaking, man. It's just, they're going to be looking after him their whole life, his whole life, until they pass away. It's his lesson here. We're sitting there thinking, hasn't he suffered enough and hardly do anything on his own? And then he's that sick and in a damn ER for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, waiting room. Oh man, it's just and old people in there waiting for hours and then they leave because they just, they couldn't stand it any longer. And it's terrible. It's horrible. If you look at what's going on in this realm, you'll see what this place is. It's not about learning lessons. Suffering is a very poor teacher. It's one of the worst teachers. Suffering and trauma and abuse and all this shit. It's sadistic. It's sadistic. It's not a school. Not a school.
Why is that? Well, the creator, source, God, decided to do that for reasons that pertain to God's ways of doing things, So I don't really get into too much about questioning that. It's just
Oh, that's really good, Mike. God, source, the creator. He says he doesn't get into too much questioning of that. Why do you assume that there's a good God or good source? When you look at this realm, look at this fucking place. If the creation's this way, then whatever made it has to be a monster. That's how I look at it. And it should be destroyed. The creation and the monster. Both. Okay? Both. Or monsters with an S on the end. Plural. See, it doesn't matter to me what you call them. I can say monsters. Whatever you want to name them is fine by me. Doesn't matter. I don't care what name you prefer. Fuck this place.
The way it is. I mean, it's just is.
Well, I've heard David Icke put it in a certain way. A phrase that he used which stayed with me was, there's no being with a machine gun in the spirit world saying get into that body and incarnate into that world or else. So it's voluntary, it's consensual.
Yes, it is.
That was the point here.
So they're both saying it's consensual, and they're saying that there's no machine gun because David Icke said so. And later on in this video, they totally oppose David Icke because his new book is called The Trap. So Icke is finally talking about the soul trap theory topic. Interesting. Interesting. How the fuck would they know that I consented to this? How would they know what I did when I can't remember before I was born? And they're saying they know what I did before I was born here? I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate in gaslighting. Claiming to know what I did before I was mind-wiped and before I entered this realm. How the fuck would they know? They couldn't possibly know. It wouldn't have to be a, quote, machine gun. Maybe they said something's going to happen to your loved ones unless you go down there. Who knows what kind of threats or blackmail or coercion or what they did, mind control. All of that is in play. All of that is a possibility. And yet again, these two are on the same page. What a coincidence. I mean, of course I'm going to be suspicious of that. It's like they're reading from the same damn script. Nothing new there. That's what happens on YouTube. Same script.
It is. It is. But. There's still the lessons that have to be learned. So it's going to be up to the soul to determine whether they want to incarnate again or how soon they want to incarnate. But the lessons are still there. Now, are there other...
I have to stop here. Listen, if you study near-death experiences, what's the one thing they all have in common? They're all back here. Almost all of them say they didn't want to come back here. And yet where are they? They're back here. Okay? That's what they all have in common. There's millions in this realm that have had an NDE, near-death experience, and they say, I didn't want to come back here again, and yet here they are. That's the one thing they all have in common. So I'm proving what they're saying to be false.
Other ways to go about the lessons? There are other ways to go about the lessons. When I did the work, people had past lives in other worlds, in other realities. So they would go there. It wasn't necessarily Earth as we know it. So even though there's no gun to your head telling you that you have to do it, ultimately what happens is if you want to progress as a soul, you're going to have to do the work. You have to do it.
See, he's pushing, you have to do it. You have to do it. Then the whole other worlds thing. There's a possibility that those other, quote, worlds are just more, in a sense, simulations within this matrix. That they're all contained within this fucking thing. The goal, that's why I always say the goal is to get out of here, to exit this entire matrix, to get out of it completely, and to somehow test it once you're outside to make sure that you're free and clear of it. NDEs disprove that theory as far as I'm concerned, because you get lied to and deceived to come back here. So who's tricking you? Another aspect of God, another aspect of yourself? If you're all just a fragment of God, it makes no sense at that point to keep you here hostage and to trick you into returning again and again. If you're a piece of God, you get what I'm saying? Why the trickery against yourself? Doesn't add up. It's 2 + 2 = 5 yet again.
So is it difficult? Yeah, at times it gets very difficult. But the objective is, again, Mike, do not take your hand off the steering wheel. That segment out there is trying to get me to pull off, step back, sit in the passenger seat, or even get out of the car. And this is what we're dealing with. This is why in the beginning I said this is very complex. It's not just one size fits all, easy explanation. It's very, very complex. And the thing is, though, once we cross over, all of it makes sense. We understand the bigger picture. We understand why it is we went through what we went through. We understand the dynamics. We understand how family interactions, the relationships, all of the stuff that we went through. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because, I just wanted to share the fact that a lot of the stuff that people are going through, we go through it too.
But we
just want to jump in here. A lot of NDEers claim that they knew everything, that it all made sense, yet they're back here again and they don't remember how it all made sense. It just sounds like mind control in the astral realm. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like they were just under mind control. They believed that they had everything figured out. They had all knowledge. It all made sense. Yet they were told they had to come back here and learn more. They had more to do. They had a mission, you know, and they're back here in this fucked up hell realm again, suffering. And a lot of times they come back here and they don't really notice as much suffering here. That's what I see a lot of times with NDErs. They're even more hardcore in believing the lies, and they're really hard to break free out of it. People that have had an NDE, a lot of times, a lot of them. Some of them do break free, but a lot of them are really hard to get through to. And that's sad, but that's the way it is. They really think that they were in heaven, that they knew everything, and they were kicked out, and that they have more to do here, and they're going to go back there again. And they just can't fathom that they were tricked. They just can't fathom it. But an evil realm doesn't come out of goodness, and this realm is evil. It's ruled by evil. So what made it can't be good. That's pretty simple. That's as much as I can boil it down to the basics, okay? Some people like when I say it's basic shit. Well, it is basic shit. This is an evil place. It's evil here. So what made this realm cannot be good. Because good does not create a place that's full of evil and ruled by evil and designed to be evil and designed to create suffering. That makes no sense for there to be a good creator and an evil creation like this for us to live in and suffer in. Figure it out. That right there shows you the trick. You're not going to know everything once you leave your body, we'll say, once you pass on. They're going to try to trick you every which way they can.
And we're now paying that forward, and we're waking other people up in the same way that we were. Right. So it's a continual process, generation by generation.
Okay, you guys are waking people up into things that are not going to help them get out of here. You're, quote, waking them up, but if they just followed you, they're headed right for the recycling bin. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Knowing the music industry is corrupt, and they're all part of a club, and fame is all controlled, that's basic shit. I knew that decades ago, and that's Mark Devlin's work. But I knew about that before I watched any video of Mark Devlin. There were people that were around talking about this before Mark Devlin. Some people might think he's an old veteran, but there were guys around long before that. And as for Mike Williams, as I said, he's done some good work on the Beatles and on Paul McCartney being replaced, all that sort of stuff. If you look into that, it's interesting. Is it going to help you get out of this realm, though? No. So if they say they're awakening people, I mean, yes, to a degree, but when it comes to helping them get freedom, to choose freedom, to get out of here, no, not really. I mean, not really. And you'll see what I mean coming up, what they say.
This reality, it just is. It's going back to what I was saying about Westworld.
It just is. It's the construct. We know it was constructed. By what, though? And then Mark Devlin said that by default, God is good. Why? Why is that the default? If the realm looks this way, how can that be the default? It's like having as an analogy, that not the greatest one, but if you have a fucked up computer and it's fucked up from the beginning when you get it, you're not going to say this computer's great, it works perfect. By default, it's perfect. And everyone's looking going, it's all fucked up. It's not working all the time, and it's screwed up. It has so many issues. It's almost unusable. It's just so it's such a mess. It's so fucked up. You have a lemon, and then you're just like, by default, it's perfect, though. It's good. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. All you have to do is look at this realm and just look at what he said. Life eats life. Creatures here eating other life all day long by the billions, every single day, every second. So the creator is by default good? How does that add up? I mean, it's a psychopathic design, so how can you say it's good by default? No, it isn't. I'd say the opposite. I would say if evil rules this realm, and if life is eating life, which it is, all day long, in the air, on the land, and under the sea. Everywhere here, in the soil, under the soil, on the land, in the soil, under the sea, and in the air. Life is eating life everywhere. That's the design. That's pretty evil. That's pretty psychopathic. So whatever made this design is fucking psychopathic. It's fucked up. It's sadistic. You design it this way. It's not good. Okay? It's not good. That's the real starting point. That's the real default. So, Mike Williams, Sage Aquay, is responding, it is what it is, basically. It's like, that doesn't explain anything, dude. It doesn't explain the design. You're not justifying shit with that. And then saying, well, there's other worlds that are different. So what? That still doesn't justify this place. Not whatsoever. So he sets himself up as, well, you people, it's just hard for you to get your heads wrapped around. Even if I accept, let's say I accept hypothetically and say, okay, Mike, I believe you. There's other worlds that are different where life isn't eating life in nature. Fantastic. Great. But so what? It is here where we are. So what if there's other places within this matrix that are other simulations where there is no, quote, new world order and evil ruling at the top, and, in nature, wildlife isn't eating everything else the way it is here. Why is it here, though? Like, you saying it doesn't exist on other realms doesn't justify what's happening here. Even if there's a million other realms where it isn't like this. It is here, though. That's the point. That's the point. It's not a lack of imagination or we can't wrap our heads around it. I can, easily. Easily that could be a possibility. But it doesn't justify what's happening here. It's evil here. So whatever created here must be evil, because that's what it would take to create evil. You'd have to be evil. Okay? Because evil isn't born out of something good or pure or benevolent or caring. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Just like you don't see evil going around creating things that are good. Unless it appears, quote, good on the surface and it's a deception to cause harm somehow. And they do that often, where the masses think it's good and it's not good at all if you look deeper. But they think, well, this evil person's doing good. It's not good. Got to look deeper, and then you'll see it. That's how they pull it off.
Based upon the work that I've done, this is not it. I can tell you that there are other realities, other worlds that a soul incarnates into that is nothing like this place.
Okay, Dolores Cannon spoke about this, and so does Bashar. And now Mike Williams, Sage of Quay. You know, Mike Williams, a.k.a. Sage of Quay. That's who it is, speaking. He's just repeating stuff that I've heard others say for so many years, for so long. Same script.
And why are they in those particular realities? Why are they incarnating into those experiences? It's because that happened to be the experience that the soul decided, with the help of their guides and their elders, to incarnate into and experience as part of their developmental process. We think this is it because come in, you have the amnesia, this is what we're experiencing. It goes back to what I was saying before. You have to make that connection up to the higher realms. You have to make that divine spiritual connection. If you don't make it, then this place is just a big bucket of shit, and you're swimming in it. And you have to think to yourself, like, this is how I explain it to people. Do you have love in your heart? Do you love your family? Do you love your wife? Do you love your children? Do you love your animals, your pets? You have love. Where does the love come from?
Jump in right here and answer him, because he asked a question. Where does the love come from? From inside of me. We bring that love in here. It's not from this realm, and it's not from an evil creator that made an evil realm for us to suffer in. It's evil by design, and it creates suffering by design. Okay? It's from within us. We bring that in here. That's where that love comes from. And I'm an eternal being. I don't have a creator. Yeah, I didn't create this body, but I'm talking about my spirit. No beginning, no end to my spirit. Always was and forever will be. That's my spirit. It can never be destroyed. Shit in here is temporary. I'm not, quote, trapped here forever. I will get out.
Does the love come from some diabolical God or from some diabolical creator? No, it does not. That love comes from the higher realms. It comes from the source creator, the spirit world. That's where it comes from. That's what it's really about, being human. You feel that love. The sheer fact that you wake up every morning and you have no intention in your heart to harm anybody, and all you want to do is do the right things and keep a roof over your children's head and do the best you possibly can for your family and your friends, that is the true God. That is the true creator. That is the spark of divinity that resides within you. And all this other stuff.
So the true creator created all the suffering, the evil here. Life eats life, but he says, well, it also created love, so it can't be evil. Makes no sense. Mike, Sage of Quay, is basically saying 2 + 2 = 5. What he's saying makes no sense. Doesn't add up.
I don't subscribe to any religion, Mark, any institutionalized religion. I was born and raised Roman Catholic. I spent a number of years in a non-denominational Christian church. So I understand Catholicism and I understand Christianity. And I'm not knocking anybody, okay? But I will also tell you that these religions were put in place and commandeered to make that connection that you should have with the divine, a direct line of communication. They stuck a middleman in between with a switch.
Okay, no shit, that's basic shit.
So there's been a lot of talk on the Truther Circuit in recent times about this idea that when we pass over, we can get tricked into going into this tunnel of light. And so many near-death experiencers who've come back have said that that's what they saw, a tunnel of light. And they often talk of loved ones who have passed over, who appear to them, and they seem to be beckoning them in. And so obviously it's very tempting to go into that tunnel of light, into what you assume to be where you need to go. But some of these commentators are putting forward the idea that malevolent entities have somehow come up with this construct to trick souls into going into the light. And what happens when you do is that you get spat right back out into this realm. You're reincarnated. You're back on the bloody conveyor belt, you know, like a piece, like a sausage being spat back out, and you have to do it all over again. So this is like the ultimate psyop, isn't it? You know, you spend your life being tricked and deceived by all this psychological manipulation, and now we're told that when you pass over, you got another fucking psyop to deal with, like the biggest one of all.
Just have to jump in here just for a moment. You could hear how emotional Mark Devlin got. It's like cognitive dissonance. He doesn't want to buy it. He doesn't want to believe that that could be even a possibility. that there's a huge psyop in death. After all the psyops here, he just wants to believe that it ends once your spirit leaves your body. Did you hear when he said another fucking psyop? He just, like, he had an emotional moment there where he hasn't been throughout this whole interview. You can just tell a lot by his emotion and his voice there that it's a topic he just doesn't want to. I don't know how to describe it. It's like showing somebody the truth and they don't want to see it. They just don't want to see it. And they're angry about it. And it angers them if you just bring up the topic and say, hey, why don't you look into this? Or I looked into it. They just say, I don't want to fucking hear it. It's kind of like that. That's what he's doing there. So I had to mention that because I noticed it the first time I played this.
But what would you have to say about this whole idea of the soul trap?
It's total rubbish. Absolute, total rubbish.
So there you go. They both deny the soul trap. Yet I can show you the trickery during near-death experiences and pre-birth experiences. So actually the evidence is on our side. If you look at the data, okay, I don't know. I saw a comedy thing on that one time. Look at the data, a TED Talk with a comedian. Anyway, but if you do look at it, you look at the evidence that we have to go on. And I'm not saying that all NDEs are real or true. I'm aware there are some liars and frauds and plants put in there. I know that. I can mention certain YouTube channels that have them on all the time. But if you analyze them, you're going to see some real patterns there. You're going to see some deceptions, trickery, lies, guilt, shaming, using false loved ones, saying, you got to go back there, it's not your time, you don't belong here. No one who loved you would send you back here. Let's face it. If you truly love someone, you wouldn't send them into this fucking hell. You just welcome them into paradise. Okay? That in itself should be all the proof that you need. There's a whole bunch of NDEs that say that. Just watch enough of them. That's all you have to do. Spend your time. Watch 50, 100, 200. Analyze them. Watch them like I've done. You'll see what I mean. If you don't see it right now, eventually you will. If you watch enough of them, a light bulb's going to go off, and you're going to say to yourself, you know what? There's a lot of trickery going on, a lot of deception. And what's the one commonality they have? The one thing they have in common is they're all here. They're all back here again. And over 99% of them, it's perhaps as much as 99.9%, say that they didn't want to come back here. Yet here they are. That in itself shows you there's trickery. Okay? So he calls it rubbish. He denies it. How's he going to debunk it? Because that means nothing. That's just emotion saying it's rubbish. It's rubbish. He's misrepresenting us. I don't have a defeatist mentality. I'm empowering people to choose freedom, to get out of here. Defeatists would say, like, be the other way. In denial. That's defeatist. And he's hung up on the word trap. And he also said we're pulling it out of our butt. No, not even close. A lot of us have had near-death experiences, or we have pre-birth memories, or both, or we've also had shared death experiences, which I have had. So that's another one to add into there. We've had spiritual experiences ourselves, and we have studied hundreds and hundreds of near-death experiences along with pre-birth experience memories of others. We've studied. We've looked at the patterns. We've looked at things. We've looked into it. We've used our critical thinking. We're not pulling any of this out of our ass. So that's bullshit. That's him trying to poison the well, and it doesn't do anything to debunk the actual theory at all. It's just basically an ad hominem attack. It's pointless.
These controllers have absolute control over everything.
Yeah, even beyond life, even into death.
Right, even beyond life. And I can tell you folks right now, absolutely not true. When you pass, there's going to be a light, and that light is going to lead you back home, back to the spirit world. And at times...
No, I don't buy into that at all. Not at all. In fact, I don't buy into anything that he's saying here. And the evidence is all against him. The near-death experiences that you can read about, you can study that way, and you can watch videos of their testimonials. And you can watch the NDEs that I've analyzed, where it's not just them telling their story, but I'm doing my analysis and pointing out things and stuff like that.
It could be a family member or members that meet you when you pass away. Other times, most of the time, it's your spirit guide. When you first get...
Those are not your family members that meet you. And that's very easy to see. Once you study enough NDEs, you'll see exactly what I mean, that they're imposters.
There, you're going to have interaction with other souls that have passed on, that were close to you, knew you, could be parents, grandparents, children. And then after that, you go for a life review. And when you have that life review, you're going to go through your entire life, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. And
he says you're going to go through a life review. Submitting to a life review must be one of the most disempowering things I could think of, along with submitting to a memory wipe, which Mike claims you did. He claims you submitted to that, you agreed to be memory wiped, and you also agreed to the life review. Talk about being disempowered, going through that. And these, quote, spirit guides like authorities. What bullshit, man. What bullshit. He's saying keep your hands on the wheel in this realm, and then he's basically saying you submit to all these authorities in the afterlife. What a huge contradiction in what he's saying. He contradicts himself, and he really doesn't seem to be aware of it.
What it is you learned from that life. There is no trap. The only trap is a self-inflicted trap. This is what I talked about before. If you come here and you relinquish and disempower yourself by giving up your will, because what the controllers are doing is they are looking to impose their will on you. And if you don't push back and you don't apply your own inner will, then what's going to happen is it's the one door thing I was talking about before. You're going to pass away, you're going to go up, going to have your life with you, and then they're going to say, hey, okay, time for another incarnation, another experience. There's the door. And you're going to say, well, that looks like the last door I went through. You're exactly right. It is the last door you went through because you have to learn your lessons. And it's not judgment.
So he's saying you have to learn your lessons, and these entities are going to tell you that, that's submitting to authority. That's the most disempowering thing of all. That's what Mike is preaching. To believe that, that's bullshit, man. Don't submit to any authority like that. You have to learn your lessons, he's saying. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's nothing against him personally, but what he's saying is wrong. All right? I've been subscribed to this guy's channel for years. So anyone on my channel that, please spare me any comments that say, oh, you just, quote, hate him. I don't hate him at all. I don't hate Mike Williams or Mark Devlin. I don't hate either of them. I think they're wrong. Disagreeing with someone is not hatred. I don't know how it got warped in this realm in recent years, but people think that if you disagree that you hate the person. I don't, quote, hate them at all. Not at all. I thoroughly disagree with them, though. That's very different.
Hard is a process. Your soul has to go through a developmental process.
What if the soul trap idea,
Okay, sorry, but why does it have to go through a quote process? Why? Why do you say that? Why does it have to? Why? What if I don't want to? What if my friends don't want to? What if subscribers right on my channel don't want to? Why, Mike? Why? Why is a good question. Why should we go through any of this?
They're not being hard is a process. Your soul has to go through a developmental process.
What if the soul trap idea itself is the trap? And the advice you're getting is don't go into the light because it's a trap and you'll just get spat out, reincarnated, become an energy source for these entities. Go the other way. But what if the advice to go the other way is the trap? Because you should be going towards the light. What if it's a psyop that's designed to even have an effect when we leave these bodies?
Let me
jump in here. That's what people who haven't researched the topic usually say. They're so afraid of the topic, they'll say, what if it's the psyop? Well, let's look at it this way. During the scamdemic, what did the majority of the masses do? The sheep. You could call them sheep, whatever, zombies. I'm not saying that as just a, quote, insult or disparaging term. I'm just speaking about their behavior in general. Did they follow each other like herd animals and just wear the face diapers and comply? So if the majority are doing that, do you want to follow that? Because the majority just go into the light and just follow the, quote, spirit guides and whatever shows up. They follow along. They don't question, they obey authority. So if you want to do that, by all means, but how often are the masses wrong? How often are the majority wrong in this realm? Do you think they might be wrong too with their sheep mentality when they leave their body here? And they, because if you're a sheep here, you're going to be in the afterlife. That's why I'm trying to get people to see through it while they're here. Because it's important that you assert that you're a sovereign being here, that you're independent, that there is no higher spiritual authority or, quote, higher spiritual authority, that you're not going to submit to any of these fake-ass spiritual authorities because their goal is to deceive you, to get you back here. NDEers often talk about the light being unconditional love, so much love, so powerful, so intense, millions of times more powerful than love here. Unconditional love, the most love you could ever feel, yet they're back here suffering again. So what kind of thing would put you out of that unconditional love and bliss and ecstasy into this realm to suffer? Just think of it that way. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. If your own child or your own brother or your girlfriend or boyfriend, someone that you care about, if you have someone in this realm that you really, really care about and love, were somewhere in a state of bliss and wanted to stay there, would you throw them into this hell to suffer? And how could you ever justify doing that? How? That itself tells you what this place is. Okay? As I've said, watch the NDE videos. Do the work when it comes to that and watch my NDE analysis videos. That's all you have to do. And use your critical thinking and say to yourself, hey, you know what? They do keep talking about this love bomb. And yet here they are with us in this realm of evil and suffering. Are you going to make that add up?
Like that. I was pulled right in and I was up in the spirit world. This is my own experience, okay? And when I was there, I was shown amazing things. Amazing things. Not dark things. Nothing that was a trap or any of that. And that's what happens when you pass away. When you pass away and you hit that light, sometimes when you get there, there'll be a void, right? The void is not a bad thing either, by the way. Okay, sometimes you'll be in a void. And when clients were in the void for a little bit, when they first passed away, I would ask them how they felt. They said, oh, I feel fine. There's no issues. I'm not scared or anything. And in short order, what happens is the light will appear or their spirit guide will appear and then take them to where they need to go, the next stop. So.
Okay, so Mike says it's not a trap because he was in the spirit realm and they didn't show him dark things and it's not a trap. Well, you're in the trap here, Mike, in this earth realm, in this material realm. You're in it. You're back here again, dude. You're right here with us. You're in it right now. Okay? This whole thing's a matrix, not just this earth realm, but that spiritual realm is part of a matrix too. You don't understand the soul trap theory. You're trying to debunk something that you really haven't done the research to know what you're talking about. It's like trying to debunk a book, and it's a 350-page book, and you read the first paragraph of page 1, and that's it, and you're saying it's rubbish, it's rubbish. How the fuck would you know? You didn't study it. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? They're not going to show you anything dark there. They want you to believe that it's, quote, heaven. You don't get it, dude. You don't get how a trap works or how a trick works. You don't get it. You just don't get it. You don't get it. They're cunning. They're conniving. They're deceptive. They're intelligent. They're not stupid. The entities or the AI or whatever's running this whole system, this whole matrix, they're not foolish. They're not stupid. They're evil, but they're clever. They're cunning. They're devious. You understand? They're not going to show you dark things. That would give it away. They just have to put you back in this realm and have you believing, well, one day I'm going to go to heaven. You just keep coming back here forever because you don't get it. You're afraid to look into topics. You have a closed mind. That's a problem. You have a closed mind. For this topic, you have an open mind for some topics, like the Beatles, that sort of stuff. That's great. But your mind is closed to this because I can tell by what you're saying that you didn't look into this topic.
All I can tell you is there is no soul trap. It's a defeatist mentality in my mind. Really what it's saying is reincarnation, the concept of reincarnation is a trap that was constructed by the New Age movement. This is all the stuff they'll put out there, but that's not the case at all. And, whether people want to...
That's not what we're saying at all. We're not saying that the reincarnation was put out by the New Age, and we're not saying that we're trapped here forever either. I'm not saying that. It's not disempowering at all. I'm telling people to choose freedom, to choose to be sovereign, to not obey these fucking fake, quote, authorities, these evil entities that are deceivers. I'm saying not to follow. What my message is completely empowering, and it leads to freedom. What Mike is saying is slavery, is spiritual slavery, and slavery here on earth. Is as soon as you obey those, quote, spirit guides, you're going to end up back here. That's what I'm saying.
Believe me or not is irrelevant, because I know what my experiences have been, and I know what I did for 12 years with clients working through spiritual sessions, past life and between life sessions. And I know it's real. I know what they reported back. I know there's a process. And these people who are talking about this, I'd like to ask them a question. What personal experiences do you have where you can stand up and make declarations about how this works or how you think it works?
I've already said some of mine in my other videos and in this video. I've mentioned having a shared death experience. I've had multiple NDEs in this lifetime. I've had other lifetimes, and I have some memories of pre-birth and in the womb memories, which I haven't gone into detail about, but I went into a little bit of detail with my shared death experience with my mom, and I was attacked over that by demons. They did try to use that against me. Okay, in private. Ones that have been banned from my channel. All right? That's the way it works. That's the way demons are. They can't get to me any other way, so that's what they try to do. They try to get to you that way. But yet again, Mike is assuming that we don't know what we're talking about. Quite a few of us have had spiritual experiences, near-death experiences, pre-birth experiences, pre-birth memories, shared death experiences, other spiritual experiences, supernatural experiences. We've seen things, we've heard things, we've been out of body, all sorts of stuff like that. Some of us have undergone regression therapy and done stuff like that, had entities removed, all sorts of stuff. So in our circle here, a lot of us are quite experienced, you might say, in this sort of thing. He just assumes wrongly that we don't have any experience, that we're just making up shit. Wrong.
Right, because if this soul trap thing is real, it offers zero hope for anything. So you endure a life of suffering and hardship, and then when you pass over, there's just nothing to look forward to, no hope, because you're just going to get spat out and do it all over again.
No, that just shows right there you haven't studied it, because I've never said that. We do have tremendous hope, because we know that this is a soul trap. That's the way you get out. You have to understand that first, okay? Otherwise, if you don't realize you're in a prison, you're not going to attempt to escape, if you get what I'm saying. To free yourself, you have to understand where you are. I have never said that we're trapped here forever and that we won't get out and that there's no hope. I've never said that. Never. In all the years I've been studying this.
It's a horrific idea.
Yeah. So think about that, right? So, why would you put that out there? Well, because that's the way I think it is. Well, I can tell you right now, that's not the way it is. And I'd like to understand very clearly where you're coming from. And it would be great if it were personal.
Well, it would be great if you did some damn research then to understand where we're coming from. Why don't you watch some hours of my videos? I don't try to dismiss what you've said about the Beatles and Paul McCartney without watching your videos. I watch the videos and I understand because I saw the evidence. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That adds up. Those are different McCartneys, and also those are different John Lennons they used. It's obvious. But, you know, you guys have been lazy. Mike and Mark, hate to say this, but you've been lazy because you're talking about a subject that you really haven't done the research. I don't see you on my channel. I don't see you watching my videos or commenting on them. You don't seem to understand my perspective whatsoever or my experiences. And you haven't looked at my NDE analysis videos. But what you're doing is wrong. You're misrepresenting the whole reincarnation soul trap topic here. And part of it is easy to get tricked if you don't see the massive suffering built into the design here, beyond yourself. And that's what some here do. Well, my life's good. You're not looking at the realm. You're not looking at the suffering of others. You're not looking beyond yourself. That's why you don't see. You've got an extremely limited view where they can't see past their own nose. A lot are like that in this realm, not just doctors, scientists. A lot are like that. Teachers, you name it. Nurses. I've known many, okay? Seeing your own suffering usually isn't enough to wake you up to this. You have to see the suffering all around you and that it's built into the design of this realm. That's what you have to do. If you don't see that and you just see these people having, quote, beautiful spiritual experiences or they're talking about their past lives, then you might realize that reincarnation is real, but that's falling short. That's stopping short. Saying, well, it's a reincarnation system. But if you don't see the suffering and the evil built into the design here and the memory wipe and understand, okay, now I'm starting to see it's more than just reincarnation going on here. They want to keep you here forever. Am I saying you're trapped here forever? No, I'm not. So Mike and Mark misrepresented. They denied the reincarnation soul trap, and they also misrepresented it. And I'm basically trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, saying they're ignorant. They didn't do it on purpose. They just haven't done the research. They haven't really looked into this topic to be speaking about it. So they really shouldn't be speaking about it, to be honest, because they don't know what they're talking about. Or there is a possibility that they know enough and they're still denying it. They're not ignorant and they're denying it on purpose. That's another possibility, okay? But I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, they just haven't done the work. They haven't looked into it. And that is lazy. Don't make YouTube videos and give talks about things and deny things and say it's rubbish. Dismiss it if you haven't really looked into it first.
Well, they say things they really don't understand, and they think they understand it, and they've convinced themselves that they understand it because they've been able to put some logic or rationale behind it and construct something, and they're like, oh, well, that's the way it's got to be. But I can tell you right now, folks, your soul transcends this world.
Well, David Icke having put a book out about it isn't going to help. I've not read that book, but I know that's the basic idea that he's suggesting through it.
Look,
I haven't read that book either, but I wouldn't criticize the book. Even though I do suspect that David Icke is controlled opposition. I've suspected that for many, many years. But would I just dismiss his whole book? Like Mark Devlin just said he hasn't read it. Okay, well then you really don't know what's in there, if you're honest. I saw a series of his interviews on London Real on YouTube, David Icke talking about the trap. There's a series of videos that you can watch for free on YouTube talking about a lot of topics that are in that book, because the interviews are about the, quote, the trap. That's what his book is. So you can watch those for free if you don't want to, support him and buy the book. If you want to support him and buy the book, it's your choice. By all means, do what you want. I'm not discouraging people or I'm not encouraging people. It's your decision what you buy in terms of books and all that kind of stuff. That's up to you. You're an adult. You decide that. But if you want to watch those interviews for free, just type in David Icke, The Trap, London Real as a YouTube search, and it'll pop up. You can see what Icke says out of his own mouth rather than listening secondhand to what Mark Devlin and Mike Williams are saying here. Then you can decide for yourself what Icke says about what Icke says, if you see what I'm saying. That's what I'd like you to do. Use your own discernment. You're going to have to get out of your body or for your life here. But I mean, once you leave your body too, you're on your own. So I want you to have great discernment skills developed. I call it more of a recycling trick rather than a soul trap, because they get so hung up on the word trap. They immediately put the word forever. We're trapped forever, trapped forever. It's like none of us say that. Almost none of us. I've encountered maybe a couple people in all these years on YouTube looking into this on all sorts of places. Very, very few. And those ones could be plants, just trying to scare people.
David's done a lot of good work, okay? I mean, and David was one of the first people to come on my podcast going back in 2014. And David has put a lot of truth out there. I know some people think he's controlled opposition and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that David has put out that has been truthful. He's been vindicated, okay?
I wouldn't be doing this work otherwise.
No, but it doesn't mean that everything that David says or anybody says, me or you or anybody, is, etched in stone. That's the way it is. I've always said this. The truth community is a misnomer. It's not the truth community. It's a perspective community. People are offering their perspective.
Well, then why do you say it's rubbish and you deny it? And you say it's not true about the soul trap, reincarnation soul trap topic? Mike, Sage of Quay. Why do you deny something that you really haven't looked deeply into? Is it because it goes against, what you did with your practice with hypnotherapy? Do you have a bias, perhaps? That why you really don't want to look into the topic? You just want to dismiss it and deny it? And also try to label people as having no experience that are talking about it, saying we're just talking out of our butts? Is what you said?
Perspectives. They call it truth, but it's a perspective. How do you know that what you're talking about is actually true? I mean, in some cases you can. It's provable. Don't get me wrong. But many times what I see in general is perspectives. Now, in my case, I stand behind what I'm saying because, after 12 years of doing this stuff, being an instructor and teaching and having my own experience.
That's an appeal to authority fallacy. He's basically playing the authority, saying, I have the experience, I have 12 years, so I'm an authority, and it's an appeal to authority argument saying, oh, I'm the authority because I did this kind of work for 12 years. And they don't know anything because they have no experience. How do you know what my experience is in this and what my research is in this? How would you know, Mike? Wouldn't know. You know what? If I'm wrong, if I do everything and I basically assume that this is a recycling trick, it's a matrix system designed to get me back here, if I'm wrong, it's no harm, no foul in the afterlife. Because if it's just an all-loving God, they'll just say, hey, silly, what were you worried about? You tried to get out of here, whatever. It's not a trap. It's not a matrix. It's not this. There'd be no problem. But if you're wrong, you get mind wiped and recycled. If you're wrong and it is what I'm saying it is, that if it's a recycling trick, then guess what? You get mind wiped. You lose all your knowledge, all your experience. You're back here again, starting from scratch. Your next lifetime, you might be the kid in the street in India, or you might be the kid in a wheelchair somewhere, unable to speak, walk, feed yourself, bathe yourself, do anything. Got that? You realize that? Taking your chances. I'm not wishing that upon you. You're taking your chances, though. That could be you. Because do you see those children? Millions of them in this realm. That could be you the next lifetime. So you're taking a big, big chance. You're taking a big chance that I'm wrong. Taking a big chance that you know best, that you have it all figured out, and you know it's all good. Why is there so much evil here, then? All you could come up with is, it is what it is. It is this way. It's a construct, and life eats life, because that's the way this realm is. You didn't explain anything.
I didn't construct them. These things came from outside of me into me. That's the thing. We're plugged into the ether. That's where expanded consciousness is. It's in the ether. Your brain is not your mind. Your brain, in fact, I think David Icke said this, is a biological computer. He got that right. That's exactly what it is. But this is all so dynamic. It's very complex. And to think that, we can sit here and have it all figured out and all mapped out and all explained. I don't know. Anybody who's telling you they have the whole thing figured out, I don't know. They don't have it figured out. There's a lot to learn, even with all the work that I've done. I don't claim to know all of it. I mean, there's still so much more to understand. Like, as an example, the whole thing, is this actually a simulation? I lean that way, but I'm not going to make a declaration and say, well, you're in a simulation, because I really don't know. Seems like
it to me, too, and I'm not going to say that I know, and I don't claim to have all the answers. I just think it's better to play it safe. There's no harm, no foul in my approach. But in your way, you're taking an enormous risk that this isn't what I'm saying. And if you're wrong, as I said, you get mind wiped and you get recycled. You might not have this opportunity in your next lifetime to get out, to realize what this place is. You might not have this opportunity. So I wouldn't blow it in this life. That's what I'm saying. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I've never said I have it all figured out. But I have a lot of big pieces put together. I have a lot of the puzzle, the picture put together. And I can see the evil in this realm by design. The evil's allowed to rule this realm by design. The suffering built into this realm by design. Whether it's parasites, all sorts of parasites in people, in your digestive system, and also ticks and leeches, and diseases, 10,000 diseases, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, all that stuff. Okay? All sorts of evil here. Evil done to children. And on and on and on. It's all built into the design of this fucking realm. And life eating life every second of every day, all day long. It's sickening. This design is actually brutal, sadistic, and sickening. It truly is. And the beauty you can see with your eyes just doesn't cover it for me. It doesn't fool me. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. So anyway, I'm going to end this video soon. I do hope that you enjoyed watching this, and I happened to see this video. I had to push back against this because I think they're helping people get tricked into believing, the standard model that when you leave your body, you just go to heaven, you get a spirit guide, you go through the light or tunnel, or you get a spirit guide or see your deceased loved ones. You go through a life review and you got to get back here to learn lessons. And I mean, I have to push back against that. I have to.
To me, sorry for getting so animated, but I mean, these types of things, because I hear them, they drive me crazy when I hear them.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we should call it the opinion community. Rather than...
Oh, opinions don't require any evidence or facts. They can be baseless and empty and emotional. Excuse me. And Sage of Quay, Mike Williams, got emotional there. It does get him angry. It does get him emotional because he doesn't want to see this as being a possibility. So he's letting his emotions control what he sees and what he researches and what he looks into with an open mind. He won't look into this topic with an open mind because it goes against his pre-existing beliefs. He doesn't want to believe it. He sees that there's evil here. He sees some of it. I don't think he sees as much as I do, built into the design of this place. He sees the quote controllers, but I think a lot of suffering he doesn't notice. But that's the way it seems, or he would have mentioned it. He had a long time in this talk to mention that stuff. So, like children suffering and just the suffering built into the design that's unavoidable. It's not free will. It's not choice. Okay, it's in the design. That's important to understand this place, what it really is. Anyway, I'm going to end this video, as I said, pretty soon. Been talking for a long time. I've done my best here in this video. Tried my best. I'm not perfect. I might have missed some things. It's very late at night again, and when I'm recording this, it's closing in on 3 a.m., and I've done my best. And as I said, I'm not perfect, but tried to give some pushback and a rebuttal to what they're pushing, because what they're pushing, I know where that leads. It leads to the recycling bin. To the best of my knowledge, that's where that will lead. And I don't want that to happen to anyone that hears this video.
That's right. Because everyone's got a goddamn opinion. You may have noticed.
Yep, everybody's got an opinion. It's just like what they say, right?
Yeah. All right, well, Mike, great show. bit different to the usual. We only mentioned Paul McCartney twice, I think, which is a welcome break. I want to thank you for addressing some very complex questions and giving your perspective on things. I really appreciate your insights because this was an amazing show.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking me. It wasn't.
Okay, that's about it. That's the end of their show, and that's going to be the end of mine here. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for commenting. Have a good night. Thanks for everything. Goodbye.